Hey there, young historians. We have done it. We have marched our way all the way through the American Civil War, and we are now here at the end of the American Civil War. Now, throughout this war, we started with this guy right here. We got a little Union soldier here in his Union blues, and we had the rebel, the Confederate of the Confederate States of America. Towards the end, we're going to take one last look at those little figurines and see what the result is of this war. All right, so the topics today are the ironclads, the end of the American Civil War, and Civil War facial hair, the facial hair era. Now, throughout the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, the president, struggled to find a general who could lead his army. He needed a commander, a general-in-chief. He tried with General Winfield Scott, but he found he was not getting the job done. He tried with General George McClellan, and he fired him as well. He tried with General Henry Halleck, and he failed as well. So Lincoln finally came across his general-in-chief, General Ulysses S. Grant. U.S. Grant, known for unconditional surrender. He's a no-nonsense leader. Here's a quote from him. "The art of war is simple enough. Find out where your enemy is, get at him as soon as you can, strike at him as hard as you can and as often as you can, and keep moving on." Seems pretty no-nonsense to me. Okay, we'll pause real quick on that to get a little bit of new technology here. Some new technology. I've already told you that the Civil War gave us many technological firsts. Here's another new one. It is called an ironclad. There's a battle called the Battle of Hampton Roads. And in this, we see the first time we have a battle between two ironclad ships, the Monitor and the Merrimack. Well, what is an ironclad? An ironclad is a ship that has steel sides like armor. I mean, think of like a modern day battleship. This was the first attempt at a battleship. Here's the Confederate Virginia. It was known as the Merrimack before when it was a Union ship, but it had been captured, stolen by the Confederacy, and they hung iron plates on the side sort of at an angle, so when a cannonball hits it, it would deflect off, right? Okay. Well, the Union also built their own ironclad called the Union Monitor. And it was basically like a cheese box on a raft, is what they called it. Most of its body would be below surface, except for the deck and this turret along the top. Here's a photograph of the Monitor and the Merrimack engaged in battle. And here's a painting of the same battle. All right, so the first time we see two ironclad ships engaged in war. All right, so we've gone through multiple battles. There were hundreds and hundreds of battles, but we've gone through a few of them. And we're now reaching the end of the war. What we're seeing happening right now is General Sherman, that's one of the Union generals, General William Tecumseh Sherman, he uses total war in the South. So what is total war? Well, think of the word total. It is destroying everything that your enemy could use. Destroy everything that the Confederacy could possibly use to fight a war. Crush their spirits so that they no longer wish to fight. Now, General Sherman is going to march to the sea, and I'll show you a map of that in just a second. But as he marches across Georgia, this is his example. This is the example of total war. He tramples or burns fields, strips houses of their valuables. They burn supplies of hay and food. They kill horses and cattle, livestock. Dead horses, hogs, and cattle are killed, and his troops, so that the troops can no longer eat or carry away. Actually, let me back up there. Dead horses, hogs, and cattle that his troops could not eat or carry away lined the roads. They just slaughtered everything in their path, anything that the Confederacy might have been able to use. So once General Sherman and his men reached Atlanta, Georgia, they decided they're going to cut across Georgia to the sea. It's called Sherman's March to the Sea. And the goal is to split the Confederacy into a northern part and a southern part so that they can no longer communicate with each other and resupply each other. This path here is 60 miles wide, and they destroy everything in their path all the way to Savannah, Georgia. Once they reach the coast, Savannah, Georgia, they turn and travel north toward Virginia. Do you remember that the goal is to get to the capital city of the Confederacy, Richmond, in Virginia? So, as they reach Savannah, they're then going to travel north. Virginia is up here a little bit further, and they're going to try to connect with Ulysses S. Grant. Okay, so once they, or as they're on their way there, General Ulysses S. Grant has already surrounded the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia. And General Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, realizes the war is over. He agrees to meet with General Grant to finally discuss the terms of surrender. So Lee and Grant, they meet in Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia to discuss the terms of surrender. Here's a couple of paintings of what that might have looked like. What they say is Robert E. Lee arrived in perfect dress uniform, crisp, clean, looking the proper gentleman, while Ulysses S. Grant arrived in mud-splattered uniform in his riding boots, the boots that you wear for riding a horse, still in his riding boots. A very strange juxtaposition of the winner looking like the rumpled mess, while the loser looks like the clean and prim and proper gentleman. All right. Well, Ulysses S. Grant could have easily made the Confederacy crumble. He could have tortured them. He could have given them extremely unfair terms of surrender. He could have done anything he wanted to punish them. Instead, Grant offers Lee very generous terms of surrender. Very generous terms. He realizes these men are going to be their brothers and countrymen once again. And so the terms of surrender are even like this. The Confederate soldiers, they could go home if they promised to fight no longer. They could take with them their own horses and their own mules. They could even keep their weapons. They were going to need those things again for spring plowing and for hunting. The officers could keep their swords and weapons. Grant also even ordered food to be sent to all of Lee's men so that they could be fed. And Lee accepts the terms of surrender. The reason, again, is because he realizes that they're going to be countrymen once again. So the Confederacy surrenders, and the Union is saved. Here is the American flag, the Union, and we see the Confederate States of America become a failed nation, and the Southern states return to the United States. This Confederate flag now represents the failed Confederate States of America. So just to recap all the things that we've talked about throughout the Civil War, we briefly mentioned these topics. The strengths and weaknesses of the North and the South before the war. We looked at the Battle of Bull Run, the role of women during the war, the Battle of Antietam, Civil War medical care. We looked at Abraham Lincoln's role in the war with the Emancipation Proclamation and the Gettysburg Address. We talked about Civil War weaponry. We talked about the Battle of Gettysburg, African Americans in the war and their involvement, especially at Fort Wagner and the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. We looked at Union leadership and Confederate leadership. We talked about Ulysses S. Grant and total war, Sherman's march to the sea, and then the Confederates surrendering to the Union Army. We covered a very broad topic of the Civil War in just a matter of a few days. Well done, everybody. We're now going to shift gears. One last final topic. Civil War facial hair. Yes, there was a time period known as the facial hair era. 10 out of 12 presidents between the years of 1860 and 1913 had some sort of facial hair. None before and none after. So we'll first look here at, here's a couple of those presidents. There is Ulysses S. Grant. Yes, the Union general goes on to become a president 2 presidents later after Lincoln. A couple more examples of those facial hair era presidents. And one more. These guys look a lot alike. It's because they're the same president. They served 2 terms, but non-consecutive terms. All right, so let's break down some of these facial hairstyles. First of all, we've got something called the mutton chops. This is Major General Stevenson. You see the mutton chops, they just go down the cheek. Hey, let's break it down a little bit further. The friendly mutton chops. They go down the cheek and across the upper lip. We've got the full beard like William Tecumseh Sherman had. That's a pretty general one. We've got the Van Dyke by like General P.T. Beauregard, which is the mustache and just a little bit on the chin there. The handlebar mustache like General Alexander Schaller. You see the handlebar droops down on both sides of the chin. We've got the chin strap like President Abraham Lincoln. Just goes around the chin. No mustache. And we've got the... No idea what that even is, like Major General Alpheus Williams had. I don't know, but it's gorgeous. All right, hey, let's have some fun here. Make a vote. Which one of these do you like more? Would you vote for this one or this one? Would you vote for this one or this one? Do you like this one or this one? All right. Hey, one last thing. There actually is some science to this. Yeah. There were some people that got together and decided they were going to study the science of Civil War facial hair. They took the face, they broke it down into different parts. They decided the beard to face ratio to determine how many people had facial hair during the war. They then put together this beautiful chart and said 90% of generals surveyed had some sort of facial hair. The gray is the Confederate, the blue is the Union, the long beard, the short beard, the mustache. You can see all the different facial hairs here. Clean shaven was about 20% of commanders. Okay, we finally reached the end here. I've been talking about this, that I am going to shave up my beard to match one of these styles here. If you voted, you had a say in this. If you come to the live lesson today, you'll get your last chance to vote, and I will be bringing out the beard and mustache trimmer and taking down the beautiful beard into one of these beautiful beards. All right, hey, we went from the Union little figurine here with the American flag. We had the rebel flag, or the rebel, the Confederates here, and at the end of the war, we now see this right here, the white flag of surrender, as the Confederates have surrendered to the Union, and the Union continues. All right, that's the end of the Civil War, everybody. Good talking with you. See you next time. Peace.